Good morning. So it is Monday, and Mondays are usually the days that I do a bit of planning for the rest of the week to decide what I'm going to do. Now, something I've discovered is that on some weeks, I don't get close to finishing all the things that I had on my to-do list. And I've been digging into this problem to try and understand what it is, and I think I've solved the problem. I think I understand what the issue is. So part of the problem is that I put a list together of all the things that I'm interested in. So this is the list. And it has focus areas and tasks within those focus areas. So I've got a little bit of a work breakdown structure that I've got running. The thing that I haven't been doing in the past is that, or at least let me explain the symptoms that I find that the next week when I put my list together, there are many of the same elements or topics on my to-do list, which means that I've worked on them, but I haven't completed them. And they just tend to roll from one week to the next week, and it makes me feel as though I'm not making any progress. And this is a significant problem because it's a demotivating factor. So what I've started doing is I've done my work breakdown structure, and I've allocated an estimate of time to each of the tasks so that I can get some feeling for how long do I really think that particular task is going to take. And having added up all the hours for all the different tasks, I've come up with a total workload of somewhere around the 75-hour mark, 73, 75 hours. And if I divide that by the amount of time I have at my disposal in my day, so my day has routines which are things that I do on a regular basis. There's some activities that I do on a regular basis, so I don't count that as the time in my day for working on projects. What I'm talking about here is disposable time to dedicate to projects and to work on a to-do list. I can estimate that I've got about 4 hours a day that I can work on special projects over and around all the other work that I have to do in my day. It means that this is 18 days worth of work, not 1 week. And if I don't work on Saturdays and Sundays, that also means that I can only do this over a period of about 3.5 weeks. So in essence, what I've done is I've put together a task list of things for this week, which is actually going to take me 3.5 weeks to finish. So there are a couple of ways of dealing with this problem. The first is to turn this list of activities into a sprint and to treat it as a 2-week sprint or a 3-week sprint. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the it's Parkinson principle. So I'm going to use the Parkinson principle because I know that work expands to fill the time allocated for the task. So the time that's been allocated for you to complete a task is usually the time that you end working on it, and that means that all the time you've allocated to it is taken up by that task's activities. There's a reason for this because sometimes we feel as though we haven't done enough, or we can do more, or we need to dig deeper, or we need to polish it up and make sure that the quality is right. So these are all factors that contribute to the Parkinson principle. One of the ways that you can circumnavigate this is that you can actually put time pressure on yourself to get a task done in a specific period of time. And you try and force yourself to do it in that time because it acts as a mini deadline. What I'm going to do with my task list is I'm going to set myself a period of time of 3 weeks, not 3.5 weeks, to get this done. Each task is going to be cascaded into a certain number of available days. So I'm doing what I call cascading. I cascade the big projects into smaller tasks, and then I allocate time for the smaller tasks, and I cascade it from one time horizon to the next. So it will cascade from the year to the quarter to my monthly or weekly planning, and then day by day I'll break it down into individual tasks that can be done. So one of the things I like doing is I like to have the idea of a theme day in my week. Now ideally, if I'm doing the same things repetitively month in and month out, I could keep those as theme days in my week every single week. It always looks the same and never has any changes. However, I find what's more useful is if you start working in terms of sprints, is to take the three, in this case it's a 3-week sprint, and to decide what clustering of activities can be broken up to be able to theme specific days within the sprint. And then when I get to the end of the sprint, I re-look at my new set of tasks and I redefine what the categories are, and then I choose theme days for those categories. And I essentially try and schedule all the related activities to the same days, so that way I'm not task switching, which is very inefficient. I prefer a 2-week sprint. And what I might actually do, because what you want with a sprint is you want to have feedback that you've achieved something, or if there are problems that you can sort them out. 3 weeks is a little bit long to work on any particular activity, because the cycle time starts becoming a little bit too long. So maybe what I'll do is I'll revisit this list, take out the tasks which are not as important, prioritize the most important tasks, select them in such a way that I could complete them in almost 2 weeks, and then schedule them for the next 2 weeks and treat the next 2 weeks as a sprint to get this work done. So I thought I'd just give you an update to help you understand what happens when you've got a to-do list and the to-do list just keeps coming up the same topics on the to-do list day in and day out. If that bothers you, this is the problem. The technique to solve that is to allocate time estimates to each of the tasks, and then to add up all the time and to see realistically how long is this task list going to take to finish, and then to schedule that time in a period of time that works for you, either a week or 2 weeks if you like working in sprints, whatever the case may be. I think I'm going to leave it at that right now. So hope you have a good week, very productive week, and I'll chat to you soon.